Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Today, we are taking a closer look at the latest movement in Iraq's foreign exchange market, where the US dollar recorded a modest gain against the Iraqi dinar during Wednesday's trading session. While the numbers may appear relatively small on the surface, they provide valuable insight into market sentiment, currency demand, liquidity conditions, and the broader direction of Iraq's financial environment. In this report, we will break down exactly what happened, why these exchange rate movements matter, and what they could mean for followers of the Iraqi dinar in both the short term and the longer term. The latest market data shows that the US dollar strengthened against the Iraqi dinar during Wednesday's trading. According to market surveys, the dollar closed at approximately 152,150 Iraqi dinars per 100 US dollars on Baghdad's Al-Kifa and Al-Harithia central exchanges. Earlier in the day, the rate stood at around 151,950 dinars per $100, indicating a modest increase in the value of the US currency by the close of trading. Although this change is relatively limited in absolute terms, it reflects the day-to-day fluctuations that continue to characterize Iraq's parallel currency market. Extank shops across Baghdad also reflected this movement. Selling prices reached approximately 152,500 dinars per 100 US dollars, while buying prices were quoted around 151,500 dinars. The spread between buying and selling rates is a normal feature of foreign exchange markets, and represents the margin maintained by exchange businesses to account for operational costs and market risk. Similar pricing was observed in Erbil, the capital of the Kurdistan region, where the dollar sold at approximately 152,400 dinars per $100 and was purchased at around 152,350 dinars. For many viewers, one of the first questions is whether such daily movements signal a significant shift in Iraq's monetary outlook. At this stage, the answer remains measured. Small fluctuations in the parallel market do not necessarily indicate a structural change in the value of the Iraqi dinar. Currency markets respond continuously to variations in supply and demand, commercial transactions, import financing, seasonal business activity, and broader market expectations. A movement of this scale generally reflects normal market dynamics rather than a major policy change. Understanding the distinction between Iraq's official exchange rate framework and the parallel market remains essential. The Central Bank of Iraq continues to maintain an official exchange rate that serves as the reference point for government transactions and many banking operations. However, outside the formal banking sector, private exchange markets operate based on prevailing supply and demand conditions. Whenever demand for US dollars temporarily exceeds available supply in the parallel market, the exchange rate can move higher, resulting in a weaker dinar in those unofficial transactions. Several factors may contribute to increased demand for dollars on any given trading day. Iraqi businesses continue to rely heavily on imports for a wide range of consumer goods, industrial equipment, construction materials, pharmaceuticals, electronics, and food products. Importers frequently require US dollars to settle international invoices, and periods of stronger commercial activity can naturally increase demand for foreign currency. If dollar availability does not rise at the same pace, even temporary shortages can place upward pressure on exchange rates. Liquidity conditions also play an important role. Banks, exchange companies, and licensed financial institutions all participate in the distribution of foreign currency. Changes in transaction volumes, settlement timing, banking procedures, or payment processing can influence how much currency reaches the market on a particular day. These operational factors often create short-lived fluctuations that later stabilize as liquidity improves. Another important consideration is market psychology. Currency markets are influenced not only by actual economic activity, but also by expectations. Traders, businesses, and exchange companies constantly evaluate government announcements, international economic developments, energy prices, banking reforms, and monetary policy signals. Even when no major policy announcement occurs, expectations regarding future developments can influence buying and selling decisions, contributing to modest day-to-day volatility. For Iraqi Dinar followers, it is important to avoid overinterpreting single trading sessions. One day's movement rarely defines a long-term trend. Financial markets are designed to absorb continuous changes in supply and demand. Analysts generally place greater emphasis on sustained patterns that develop over weeks or months rather than isolated daily fluctuations. Looking at broader trends provides a more accurate picture of the underlying direction of Iraq's currency market. The performance of Iraq's economy remains closely connected to developments in the energy sector. As one of the world's major oil exporters, Iraq earns most of its foreign currency through crude oil exports. When oil revenues remain healthy, the country generally has greater access to US dollars entering the economy through government channels. These inflows support foreign exchange reserves and strengthen the central bank's ability to manage liquidity and maintain exchange rate stability. Foreign exchange reserves continue to represent one of Iraq's strongest monetary policy tools. Adequate reserves provide confidence that the central bank can meet legitimate demand for foreign currency while supporting financial stability. Market participants closely monitor reserve levels because they influence confidence in the country's overall monetary framework. Strong reserves generally help reduce uncertainty and support confidence in the banking system. Another factor shaping Iraq's currency outlook is the ongoing modernization of its financial sector. Authorities continue working on banking reforms, digital payment expansion, anti-money laundering compliance, enhanced financial transparency, and stronger integration with international financial systems. These reforms are designed to improve efficiency, increase confidence in the formal banking sector, and reduce dependence on cash-based transactions over time. Expanding electronic payment systems may also gradually influence currency market behavior. As more transactions move into regulated banking channels, authorities gain greater visibility over financial flows. Increased use of digital payments can improve transparency, reduce informal cash circulation, and strengthen confidence in the financial system. Although these reforms take time to produce measurable results, they remain important components of Iraq's long-term economic modernization strategy. The difference between official and parallel market rates continues to receive attention from economists. Narrowing this gap is often viewed as a positive indicator because it suggests greater efficiency in currency distribution and stronger confidence in official financial channels. Achieving such convergence requires consistent policy implementation, adequate liquidity, improved banking services, and continued confidence among businesses and consumers. Businesses operating within Iraq closely monitor exchange rate movements, because imported goods remain an important part of the domestic economy. Even modest increases in the cost of obtaining US dollars can affect import expenses. If higher exchange costs persist for extended periods, they may eventually influence retail prices for certain products. However, isolated daily movements generally have limited immediate impact on consumer inflation. For households, exchange rate stability remains important because it supports predictable pricing across many sectors of the economy. Stable currency conditions make it easier for businesses to plan inventories, negotiate contracts, and manage operating expenses. Consumers also benefit from reduced uncertainty regarding the prices of imported goods and essential products. International investors and financial institutions also observe Iraq's exchange market carefully. Stable currency management contributes to broader investor confidence by demonstrating consistent monetary policy and effective financial governance. Investors often evaluate exchange rate stability alongside fiscal policy, regulatory reforms, infrastructure development, and overall economic growth when assessing investment opportunities. Short-term expectations remain focused on routine market conditions. currency markets will likely continue responding to daily changes in commercial demand, liquidity availability, seasonal business activity, and broader economic sentiment. Unless significant policy changes occur, modest fluctuations similar to those observed during Wednesday's trading are generally considered part of normal market activity, rather than indicators of major structural change. Looking further ahead, Iraq's long-term currency outlook will depend on several interconnected factors. Continued banking reform, diversification of the economy beyond oil, improvements in financial transparency, responsible fiscal management, infrastructure investment, and sustained political and economic stability will all contribute to strengthening confidence in the country's monetary system. Progress across these areas tends to support long-term financial resilience, although meaningful structural improvements typically develop gradually rather than suddenly. For followers of the Iraqi dinar, maintaining a balanced perspective remains essential. Daily exchange rate reports provide valuable information about current market conditions, but they should always be interpreted within the broader economic context. Individual trading sessions represent only one part of a much larger picture, involving monetary policy, fiscal management, banking reform, international trade, and economic development. Responsible analysis requires examining these broader fundamentals, rather than focusing exclusively on short-term market movements. Today's trading data therefore reflects a modest strengthening of the US dollar in Iraq's parallel market, with exchange rates moving slightly higher in both Baghdad and Erbil. While the increase may attract attention, it remains consistent with the normal fluctuations that occur in active foreign exchange markets. There is no indication from these figures alone that a major shift has occurred in Iraq's official monetary policy. Instead, the data highlights the ongoing interaction between currency demand, market liquidity, and everyday commercial activity. As always, continuing to monitor official announcements from Iraqi authorities, developments within the banking sector, economic reform initiatives, and broader macroeconomic indicators will provide a more complete understanding of the Iraqi dinar's trajectory. Daily market reports become most meaningful when viewed alongside these longer-term economic fundamentals rather than in isolation. Thank you for watching today's Iraqi dinar update. If you appreciate responsible, balanced, and factual coverage of Iraq's economy and the Iraqi dinar, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video so you never miss our latest updates. This content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered financial, investment, or trading advice, and viewers should conduct their own research and consult qualified financial professionals before making any financial decisions.